Namaste. Thanks for joining this amazing journey of AWS. I'm KAUSTUBH, an AWS certified graduate and AWS certified solution architect. By the way, if you haven't seen my previous video, I suggest you go through my AWS playlist, for which link will be available in the description, and you will find awesome videos related to AWS in that playlist. So today we are going to talk about EC2 instances and how to deal with the EC2 instances using Python and Porto 3. You should know how to deal with the AWS services using Python, as this will be helpful in your career and keep you ahead of others if you know Python along with the AWS. Before that, click on that red subscribe button and don't forget to press that bell icon. So as I assume you subscribe, let's deep dive into the EC2 instances. So at the end of the last video, we discussed IAM users, groups, roles and policies in detail. As we discussed in that video, we will try to explore things practically in AWS console, and we will discuss each and everything we see on our screen. Now let's quickly head over to the EC2 instances. You can go to this search bar directly, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Alt+S. So let me type EC2. So basically EC2 are virtual servers in the cloud offered by the AWS. So if you are worried about its full form, it is Elastic Compute Cloud, which allows user to rent virtual computers on which they can run their own computer application. So this is the first look of EC2 dashboard. This is the new version of the EC2 dashboard, and if you want you can switch to the classic version of the EC2 dashboard, but we will work on the new version of the EC2 dashboard, as in the some point of time in future the classic version will become obsolete. You can see EC2 is region specific, which means you can choose in which region you want to launch your virtual servers, and the best practice is to choose a region that is close to the user so that latency can be minimized. Let's discuss things one by one. First is the instance running. So as we already discussed, EC2 instances are the virtual servers offered by the AWS, and instances running shows the count of currently running servers in that particular region. In our case, it is Mumbai. We will discuss EC2 instance in more detail in this video, but let's first discuss all EC2 resources listed here in brief, so you will get an idea of what are these. Second is Elastic IP. An Elastic IP address is a static IPv4 address designed for dynamic cloud computing. An Elastic IP address is allocated to your AWS account and is yours until you release it. By using an Elastic IP address, you can mask the failure of an instance or software by rapidly remapping the address to another instance in your account. Alternatively, you can specify the Elastic IP address in a DNS record for your domain so that your domain points to your instance. Next is key pairs. A key pair consists of a private key and a public key. Is a set of security credentials that you use to prove your identity when connecting to an instance. Amazon EC2 stores the public key and you store the private key. You use the private key instead of a password to securely access your instance. Next, placement group. By the way, questions came in new AWS certification exam regarding placement group. So I want you to put more attention to this section. With the help of placement group, you can strategize how the instances are organized within the logical group according to the need of your workload. And depending on your workload, you can create a placement group using three placement strategies, which are cluster, partition and spread. In cluster, instances are packed close together inside an availability zone. This enables workload to achieve the low latency network performance necessary for tightly coupled node-to-node communication. That is a typical case for HPC or high performance computing application. In the partition placement group, instances are spread across logical partition such that the group of the instances in one partition do not share the underlying hardware with the group of instances in different partition. This strategy is typically used by the larger distributed and replicated workloads such as Hadoop, Cassandra, and Kafka. In spread, a small group of instances is strictly placed across distinct underlying hardware to reduce correlated failures. In general, AWS spread out your instances. Remember that there is no charge for creating a placement group, so you can create as many as placement group as you want freely. Snapshots. You can backup the data on your Amazon EBS volumes to Amazon S3 by taking point-in-time snapshots. Next, dedicated host. An Amazon EC2 dedicated host is a physical server fully dedicated for your use, so you can help address corporate compliance requirements and use your eligible software license from vendors such as Microsoft and Oracle on Amazon EC2. Next, instances. We already discussed them when we are discussing running instances. The difference is that here it shows a count of all instances, whether it is in running state or stopped state. Next, load balancer used to automatically distribute incoming application traffic across multiple targets such as Amazon EC2 instance, containers, IP address, etc. Next, security group. They act as a virtual firewall for your EC2 instances to control incoming and outgoing traffic. Inbound rules control the incoming traffic to your instance, and outbound rules control the outgoing traffic from your instance. As you can see, one security group is already created by default, and we get questions in AWS certification exam and interviews regarding this default security group and its inbound rule and outbound rule. Let's check that. As you can see, a default security group is created under default VPC. You can check the inbound rules here, which allow all inbound traffic from the other instance associated with the default security group. And outbound rules allows all outbound traffic from the instance to the internet. Last is volumes. An Amazon EBS volume is a durable block level storage device that you can attach to your instances. After you attach a volume to an instance, you can use it as you would use a physical hard drive. These are the main EC2 resources that we mostly deal in EC2 console. One more interesting thing I found is that most people, including cloud professional, never go down to see the full page. But I will show you full page in a snap, and then we start with the EC2 instances. Let's scroll down. Here we can see the launch instances button, which will launch instance in our current region. Then we can see any scheduled events in our region if we have any. You can use Cloud Endure migration for large scale migration from your on-premise server or other cloud-based infrastructure like Azure, GCP you used earlier to migrate it to AWS. Then we can see Quick ID filter where we can put instance ID, snapshot ID or any ID related to EC2 resources which we discuss now to quickly search them. Then we can see the service health dashboard for our current region which is currently operating normally. And here are some account attributes, default VPC ID and some other links which we will discuss in the dedicated videos. But right now let's more talk about EC2 instance. So let's quickly click on the create instance button. So launching an instance from AWS console consists of 7 steps which are: first, choose AMI, choose instance type, configure instance, add storage, add tags, configure security group and review. So AMI or Amazon Machine Image is a template that contains the software configuration required to launch your instance. You can select an AMI from one of your own AMIs or from the AWS Marketplace or from the user community. You will get a variety of AMI options here like Linux, Red Hat, Ubuntu, Windows. Even you can launch a dedicated database server, but we will talk about this later. We will use this Linux to AMI as this is a free tier eligible. Second step is to choose instance type. Basically, they are varying combination of CPU, memory, storage and network capacity and give you more flexibility to choose the appropriate mix of resources for your application. You can learn more about them by going to on this link to see what processor is there, how much memory and other things, and then choose instance type according to your need. As the currently selected instance type T2.micro is a free tier eligible, let's select it. It has one virtual CPU, 1 gig of memory, and we can attach EBS volumes to it. And it also provides IPv6 support. Third step, we have to configure some details like how many instances you want to launch. You can request spot instances if you want. A spot instance is an unused EC2 instance that is available for less than on-demand instance price. Because spot instances enables you to request unused EC2 instances at a steep discount, you can lower your Amazon EC2 cost significantly. The hourly price for a spot instance is called a spot price. Then you can choose the VPC, subnets, ads placement group. We already talked about them. You can select any IAM role, which we already talked in our previous video of IAM. You can select the shutdown behavior. All looks good. Then there is a user data. This section is very important and requires a separate video to explain this. So we'll discuss this later. Click on next. Then we have to add the storage. A storage is already added to our machine. It is of 8 gigs of space and it is a general purpose volume, and delete on termination is already clicked and it is not encrypted. Now click on next tags. So here we can add the tags, which is a case sensitive key value pair. Let me add like key name and add the name as first instance. Click on next. So we don't have any security group right now, so let me create a new security group. So let me change the security group name as first security group. In this security group, we allow to SSH on the port 22 from every IP. So we put 0.0, which already is there, and put the description as SHS to first instance. It says rule with the source of 0 IP allows all IP address to access your instance, but we want this only. Now click on review and launch. So it's saying improve your instance security. Your security group is open to the world. Yes, we want to open it to the world, so that's why we do that. Quickly review it and click on launch. So it asks you to select an key pair. So we don't have any key pair right now, so we will create a new key pair. So I name it as first key pair and download it. It is very important to download key pair right now, as you won't be able to download the file again after it's got created. So file got downloaded. Now let's click on launch instances. So our instance got launched. Let's see it. And as you can see, our instance is in running state. You can see our instance details down below. You can use this instance state button to reboot, stop and terminate the instance. This video is already so long, so I decided to break down this video into the two sections. So see you in the next video, in which I will tell you how to create instances with the help of Python and Boto 3.